Hello, good morning, and welcome, my dear students, for one more exciting session of the subject Design and Analysis of Algorithms. As we have been the part of this online journey from so many days, and I am going to discuss the session 6 of Unit 5, that is Decrease and Conquer, which happens to be the last session for me to teach. And I welcome you all for this session. So in this session, we are going to discuss what is decrease and conquer and how to represent a directed graph. And finally, we are going to see the topological sorting. So let us begin our session by having the introduction of decrease and conquer. I know you have already been gone through many of the sessions where decrease and conquer has been explained. So for those of you who are starting with my session as the first session, I am going to discuss a little bit about decrease and conquer. Let us have a little brush up. So what we can define a decrease and conquer as, it reduces the problem instance to smaller instances of the same problem. As we have seen in the divide and conquer, the same approach here, reduce the problem instance to smaller instance of the same problem. Solve the smaller instances. So here again, we are going to solve the smaller instances as in case of divide and conquer, and extend the solution of smaller instances to obtain the solution to the original problem. So what we are doing here is we are extending the solution of the smaller sub-problems to obtain the solution of the original problem. And it can be implemented either by using top-down approach or we can use bottom-up approach. So there are three types of decrease and conquer that can be implemented. The first one is decrease by constant. Usually we're going to decrease each time by 1. So for example, in case of insertion sort or graph traversal algorithms like BFS and DFS, or in the topological sorting, we decrease every time, that is we reduce the subproblem every time by 1. And even for algorithms for generating permutations and subsets, we use the same approach, that is decrease by a constant. So the second type of decrease and conquer is decrease by a constant factor. Usually by half. If you decrease by a constant factor like usually by half, then it will become a divide and conquer approach where the problem is divided into equal halves like binary search, exponentiation by squaring. And the third type of decrease and conquer is a variable size decrease, where the problem may be decreased at different sizes. For example, Euclid's problem that we have seen already in the first sessions, that belongs to decrease and conquer category. And selection by partition is another example that makes us to decrease the value of a subproblem in a variable size. And another games like NIM like games will be falling in this category. So this usually results in a recursive algorithm. As we already know what is recursion. So in all these approaches, we are going to use recursion. So now let us look at what is this digraph is. So as the name itself suggests, digraph stands for directed graphs. So a directed graph or a digraph definition will go like this. A digraph or a directed graph is a graph with directions specified for all its edges. So you will be having directions here. Such graphs are called as digraphs. So let us have a look at the digraphs. So digraphs can be represented either by using adjacency matrix, and it can be represented by using even lists. Have a look at a graph, that is a directed graph, where we are representing by using adjacency matrix. So as we can see, some of the edges are there. So if we analyze this graph, we have a edge starting from 1 to 2 and 1 to 3 and 1 to 4. So there is no edge from 1 to 1. So that's why 1 to 1 is represented in this matrix as 0. So when there is a edge, then we have to represent in a matrix as 1. If there is a edge, represent the matrix value as 1. So as we can see, 1 to 2, there is a edge. 1 to 3, there is a edge. Then 1 to 4 is also there is an edge. Then all the 3 columns are represented by 1, whereas there is no direct edge from 1 to 5. That's why we are representing it by 0. Similarly, 2 to 1, there is no two-way edge here. There is no edge from 2 to 1. There is a edge from 1 to 2, but this is a directed graph where there is no back edge from 2 to 1. That's why it is represented as 0. And even we are not having any edge from 2 to 2. That's why it is represented as 0. We have a two-way directed edge from 2 to 3. So we represent it by 1. And similarly, we can count it as for 3 to 2 also. That's why even the 3 to 2 is represented as 1. Apart from that, from 2 we are not having any other edges. So that's why 2 to 4 and 2 to 5 is represented with 0. So in the similar way, we can represent all the other edges by using matrix. As we can see, there is an edge from 4 to 4. It forms a cycle. So here we can see in the graph 4 to 4 there is a edge. So this is how we represent the graphs by using adjacency matrix. Now let us have a look at how to represent the digraphs using adjacency lists. So the same graph is represented by using a list format. As we can see, there is an edge from 1 to 2, 1 to 3 and 1 to 4. So that's why starting from 1, we have 1 to 2, 1 to 3 and 1 to 4. Whereas there is only one edge from 2 to 3. That's why from 2, we have only one edge, 3. Similarly, from 3, we are having a two-way edge here. That's why 3 to 2. 4 to 4, we don't have any edge except from 4 to 4, we have only one edge. And we are not having anywhere edges directed from 4. That is, we are not having any outgoing edge from 4. Similarly, the only edge that is outgoing from 5 is 2. That is how we can represent by using adjacency lists. Now let us have a look at what is this directed acyclic graph. We have seen the directed graph. Now we'll have a look at directed acyclic graphs. So a directed acyclic graph, or we can represent it as a DAG, is a directed graph with no directed cycles. So we are not having any cycles. If we are not having any cycles in a directed graph, then such graphs are called as directed acyclic graphs. As we can look at this example, in the first example, as we can see, we have edges from A to B A to B to D and A to D. There is no cycle anywhere. Like A to B, any path is not forming cycle here. That's why we call it as a directed acyclic graph. As we can see in the second example, we have a cycle from A to B, B to D, D to C, and C to A. So this forms a cycle here. That's why it cannot be said as a DAG. So for a DAG to be said as a DAG, it should not contain a cycle. So we are going to use these type of modeling in many problem techniques where we have a prerequisite constraints, like in construction projects where we have a time bound projects. We're supposed to be where one model or a one sub problem needs to be started only after the completion of previous one. So in such modeling problems of construction projects, we use these directed acyclic graphs. And vertices of a directed acyclic graph can be linearly ordered so that for every edge, its starting vertex is listed before its ending vertex. Means that if we are representing A to B, there is an edge, outgoing edge from A towards B. So the linear ordering of this is A comma B. We cannot write it as B comma A. That is what topological ordering or sorting represents. So DAG is a necessary condition for topological sorting is to be acyclic. So a DAG is a must for topological sorting. Now let us have a look at the video for directed acyclic graph.
Hello guys, welcome back to TechDose, and in this video we will see the topological sort algorithm, which is from graph algorithm, and I will show you at the end of the video the course schedule 2 problem which is based on this topological sort, which is from LeetCode number 210. So before jumping on to the topological sort, you should first know what is a directed acyclic graph. So a directed graph with no cycle is known as a directed acyclic graph. In the first example, you can see that you have 4 vertices and there is no cycle. All the edges are directed. So since there is no cycle, this will be called an acyclic graph. And since all the edges are directed, this is a directed graph as well. So a directed plus an acyclic graph is known as a directed acyclic graph. And in short, we call it DAG. In the second example, you can see that we again have those 4 vertices, but this time we have a cycle. So this will not be called an acyclic graph. This is a cyclic graph. Therefore, it cannot be called a DAG. Now, topo sort for a graph is only possible if your graph is a directed acyclic graph. Okay, so this point you should must remember. Now, what is topological sort? It is a linear ordering of vertices such that for every directed edge uv, that is an edge is going from u to v, vertex u comes before vertex v in the ordering. So let us say you have 2 vertices, this is vertex u and this is vertex v. And if your edge is going from u to v, then in the topological sort, you will write as u comma v. You cannot write as v comma u, because you will always write the one which is previous in the level, that is in the level of traversal. In this case, you can see that u will come before v. Therefore, in the topological sort, you will have to write first whatever comes first. Okay. Now, if we take an example like this one, in this case, you can see that we have 6 vertices. Now, what will be the topological sort? Obviously, the topological sort will start with the vertices having in degree equals to 0, because they will be the first one in the directed acyclic graph. So, in this case, 5 and 4 are having in degree values as 0. Therefore, either 5 can come first or 4 can come first. So there are 2 options. So let's say we chose this 5 to come first. Then 5 will come first. And then since 4 is at the same level, it is also having in degree 0. Therefore 4 will come. Now this 2 is having out degree value 0. And this 1 is having out degree value 0. So these 2 must be forming the last part. Therefore 1 and 2 should come at last. Now this 0 and 3 should be present in between, and therefore they are present in between. And in this case, an edge is going from 0 to 3. So 0 should always occur before 3. Okay. So this is how a topological ordering is formed. So one valid topological ordering is 5 4 0 3 1 2. Now there can be multiple topological sorting possible for a given graph. So this is a second possible topological sort. Now having seen what is topological sort, how do we find a topological sort for a given graph? Well, the first thing to remember is if your graph is a directed acyclic graph, then only topological sort will be.
Now let us look at one of the problem definition that can be used for solving the topological sorting. Assume that a set of 5 required courses, namely C1, C2, C3, C4 and C5, a student has to take in some degree courses. The courses can be taken in any order as long as the following courses prerequisites are met. So as we can see in this diagram, C1 and C2 are independent of any of the courses. Like C1 and C2 can be started independently, whereas for C3 to begin, the student must have to complete C1 and C2. Then only he can or she can take the course C3. So C1 and C2 have no prerequisites. That means C1 and C2 can be started independently, whereas C3 requires C1 and C2. Similarly, C4 requires C3 to be completed. C4 requires C3 and even C5 requires both C3 and C4. This is what the dependency of each course on the previous courses. So for C3 to begin, the student has to take both C1 and C2. So the student can take only one course per term. So there is a problem here in which order the student should take the course. So this problem can be solved by using topological sorting. Let us, before solving this problem or modeling this problem, let us have a look at how to solve or what is topological sorting. So topological sorting is listing the vertices in such an order that for every edge in the graph, the vertex where the edge starts is listed before the vertex where the edge ends. This problem is called as topological sorting. That means, as we can see in this previous example, for C3 to C4 to begin, the starting vertex is C3 and the end vertex is C4. So we have to mention in that same order. That is called as the edge start and is listed before the vertex where the edge ends. So C3 has to be listed before the C4. This is what the topological ordering says. So the problem cannot have a solution if the digraph has a directed cycle. If the graph contains cycles, then we will not get a solution. It will enter into a deadlock state. So there are two methods to solve the topological sorting. One is using the source removal method and another one is using the DFS traversal method. As you have all gone through the DFS traversals in the earlier sessions and even with the source removal method just before this session, I hope you have all understood the two methods, that is particularly using source removal method. So before I begin to explain you the second method, that is the DFS traversal method. So here we are going to discuss the topological sorting by using DFS traversal. As the first method, that is using source removal method, has already been discussed by one of the staff members. I am going to discuss the DFS traversal method. But for all of you to have a quick recap of how this DFS traversal can be used, let us go back to one such video where we are going to use the DFS traversal method to solve the given graph. Let us quickly have a look at the video.
So now that we know the basic idea behind a graph traversal, let's take a step back and see if we can sort of invent our own graph traversal. The line of thought that I'm going to present here is actually exactly the DFS algorithm. The goal here is to show you how the DFS algorithm is really a surprisingly intuitive idea, something that with some thought, you probably could have come up with on your own. Let's take a crack at it with this graph. Given a start vertex, we want to find an order that we can go through the vertices of the graph so that we guarantee that we end up visiting every vertex. Let's start with vertex 0. From vertex 0, we have a couple of options for how we might want to continue. The option we choose doesn't really matter too much here since our hope is that we'll eventually explore all the vertices anyway. Let's say that we choose to visit vertex 1 from here. What now? Well, now that we're at vertex 1, we have a new set of choices for where to go next. It doesn't really make sense for us to go back to vertex 0 since we've already seen it, so let's pick a new vertex to explore. Let's go with vertex 2. And from vertex 2, we only have a couple of options, namely going to vertex 0 or vertex 1. But we've already seen those vertices, right? So what we might naturally do is say, okay, there's nothing further we can do from this vertex, so let's take a step back to where we came from, which is vertex 1. And from vertex 1, we now have 2 unexplored vertices that we can then go to. Let's go to vertex 3. From vertex 3, our path forward is pretty set in stone. The only unexplored node is vertex 5, so let's go there. From vertex 5, we have a few options on how to continue traversing the graph, and let's go ahead and pick vertex 6. At vertex 6, we've now reached another dead end similar to what happened with vertex 2, so let's retrace our steps back to vertex 5. From vertex 5, let's say we pick vertex 7 as the next node we visit. From vertex 7, the only path forward is to vertex 8, and from there, we again have only one choice leading us to vertex 9. At vertex 9, we've now hit another dead end, so let's go back to vertex 8. Now what's different this time is that from vertex 8, we have already explored everything there is to see, so let's retrace our steps once again. We got to vertex 8 from vertex 7, so let's go back to there. From vertex 7, we have the same story, so we go back to vertex 5. And everything from vertex 5 has been fully explored, so from vertex 5, we now go back to vertex 3, which was the vertex that got us to vertex 5. Same story here, so let's take one more step back to vertex 1. And now that we are back at vertex 1, we have finally found a new undiscovered vertex, so we now visit vertex 4. From vertex 4, there's nothing new to explore, so we go back to vertex 1, which now also has nothing more to explore, which finally leads us back to vertex 0, which now is also completely explored. And now that we're back to where we started, that's how we know we have traversed every vertex of this graph. So I know that was a lot, but the philosophy of how we explored this graph but continuing to explore new vertices as we see them until we hit a dead end is what depth first search is all about. When performing depth first search, think of yourself as a bold and adventurous explorer, where every time you see a new vertex, you will continue to explore new vertices until you hit a dead end, in which case you'll retrace your steps and continue exploration. It's worth noting that there are actually several valid depth first search orderings for this graph. Let's go through one more valid ordering as an example and also as further familiarization and practice with the core idea behind DFS. We can generate another ordering by just changing up the choices of vertices to explore whenever we have a choice while sticking to the core philosophy. Let's start again at vertex 0, but now when we have a choice between choosing vertex 1 or vertex 2 as the next node to explore, let's pick vertex 2. Last time we went through this, if you remember, we picked vertex 1. Again, I want to emphasize that both of these choices are valid, and if you were ever asked for the DFS order on a test or an exam, the instructions must be clear on how to make these choices. A common way to do this is to enforce the constraint that you must always pick the node with the smaller value when you have a choice. In that case, we would have picked vertex 1. Anyways, back to what we were doing after visiting vertex 2, we only have one choice, which is now to go to vertex 1. From there, let's say we now visit vertex 4, which then leads us to a dead end, so we go back to vertex 1. Now the path forward leads us to vertex 3, which then forces us to visit vertex 5, where we now have several choices. Let's pick vertex 8 this time. From there, we'll choose to explore vertex 9, which leads us to a dead end, so we go back to vertex 8. The next vertex we then explore is vertex 7, which leads us to another dead end, so we go back to vertex 8. There's nothing more to explore from vertex 8, so we go back to vertex 5. From vertex 5, we then explore vertex 6, which is the final vertex of the graph that we haven't seen, so that completes another possible DFS ordering.
Now, with the basic knowledge of DFS traversal, now let us implement the DFS traversal for topological sorting. So in the first step for topological sorting, we are going to perform a DFS traversal of the digraph given and number its vertices in the order they become dead ends. In the step 2, reverse the direction of all the edges of the digraph. In the step 3, perform a DFS traversal of the new digraph by starting and if necessary restarting the traversal at the highest numbered vertex among still unvisited vertices. So this is what the procedure for topological sorting using DFS traversal. Now let us have a look at one such video for sorting using topological sorting method, that too using DFS traversal. Now let us have a look at the video now.
Let's now see how do we implement this topological sort algorithm. So this can be implemented by using simple DFS along with using a stack. So I will be taking the same example having 6 vertices, and in this case we will be using a stack along with a visited array. So initially the entire visited array will be marked as false because none of the vertices have now been visited. So we will start iterating. We will be using a loop, and there I will start iterating from 0 to n. Here 0 is the first index and n is the final index, that is the final vertex. Therefore now we will be making call to this index 0. Okay. Now whenever we make a call, then we will check for the visited value. So if visited is equals to false, then only we will be making the call, that is the DFS call. Otherwise we will assume that it is already processed, and so we will not be making further calls. In this case for 0, this value is false, so we will make it true and we will make DFS call. So there are 2 outgoing edges from this node 0. We can go to node 2 or we can go to node 3. Okay, so let us assume that we go to node 2. Now we are at 2, and when we reach a node, then we will make the visited value equals to true. Okay, now from this node there is no other outgoing edge, so we will have to backtrack to this node 0. So just before backtracking, we will have to push this node value in our stack. So 2 will be pushed in our stack, and now we will backtrack to this node 0. Now from this node 0 we will traverse to node 3. So before traversing, we will check the visited value at 3. It is false, and so we can traverse to node 3 since this is not processed. So when we reach this node 3, we will have to make this value true. Okay, now from this node we will make further calls. So we make a call to this node 1 since this node 1 is also not visited. So we will make it visited, and now from this node 1 there is no other outgoing edge. So we will have to backtrack to the calling function 3. So just before backtracking, we will have to push this node in our stack, and we will backtrack to this node 3. Now all the outgoing edges from node 3 have now been traversed, and so we will backtrack to node 0. So before backtracking, we will have to push this node 3 in our stack, and then we will backtrack to node 0. Now when we reach this node 0, then all the two outgoing edges have now been traversed, and therefore we will have to backtrack from 0. Now from 0 we will not backtrack to 5 because we made call to this node 0. So we will backtrack to this function, that is to this for loop. And by the way, when we backtrack from this node 0, we will have to push this into our stack. So now we will traverse for I value equals to 1. So for I value equals to 1, you can see that 1 is already traversed. Now we will try for I value equals to 2. Now 2 is also traversed. We will try for I value equals to 3. 3 has already been traversed. Now we will try for I value equals to 4. 4 is not traversed. Therefore we will reach to this 4 and we will make it traversed, that is make it true. Now from this 4 there are two outgoing edges, but 2 has already been traversed, 1 is already traversed. So we will have to backtrack from this 4. So before backtracking we will push this 4 into our stack and then we will backtrack. Now we have already checked for this 4, so our I value will now be 5, which is the last value. So 5 is also not traversed, therefore we will make a call to this node 5, and as soon as we reach to this node 5 we will make this node as true. And now all the outgoing edges have been traversed. You can see that 0 is traversed, 2 is traversed. So no further calls will be made and we will backtrack from this node 5. Before backtracking we will have to push this node into our stack. Okay. And now you can see that all our vertices have now been traversed. So once all the vertices are traversed, whatever is stored in stack, we will just pop it and give it as our answer. So when we pop it, then the elements will be in reverse order. So what will be a topological sort in this case? It will be 5, 4, 0, 3, 1, 2. In this case you can see that 5 and 4 are having in degree 0. So they are coming in the first part. Now 1 and 2 are having out degree equals to 0 and therefore they will be coming in the last part. And this 0 and 3 will be in the middle part, and this arrangement cannot be changed because from 0 there is an outgoing edge to this node 3. So 0 must occur before this node 3, and you can see that in the reverse order 0 is occurring before this node 3. So your final topological sorting order is 5, 4, 0, 3, 1, 2, and this can be found by just popping the elements of this stack. So I hope you understood the algorithm using simple DFS and stack. So the time complexity for this will be order of V plus E because we are processing each and every node only once.
Now, let us use the DFS method for solving the problem which we have discussed earlier and identify the order in which the student will take his or her courses. So as we can see, so the C1, if you are beginning by an arbitrary vertex C1 using DFS traversal method, we are going to use a stack data structure for this. So we are going to push C1, then as we can enter into C1, C1 is having an outgoing edge to C3. Then C3 is pushed into the stack. As we come into C3, as we have entered the C3, C3 edge is visited, then we mark it as visited, and then there are two outgoing edges from C3. That is, we can either go for C4 or C5. So we can go to C4 as the ordering of C4 is lesser than C5. So we are going to visit C4. As we entered the C4, visited the C4, C4 is having again an outgoing edge for C5. So C5 has been pushed into the stack. As from C5, there is no other edge to visit from C5. We'll pop out C5 first, as it is the topmost vertex which is present. So C5 is popped out. That's why the second index shows the order of popping. Then immediately if C5 is popped out, then the next immediate vertex is C4. C4 has been popped out. Similarly, after popping C4, the next immediate vertex in the stack is C3. C3 is popped out. Then we are going to pop out C1. Then finally, as C5, C2 is another vertex which has not been visited and it is not having any incoming edges, we'll visit freshly to C2, and as C2 is having an outgoing edge to C3 and C3 is already visited, we come back to C2 and we remove C5 at C2 at the end. That's why C2 is the last vertex that is removed from the stack. Now, if we reverse the ordering, then we can write it as, in the reverse order, C2 is first, then C1, C3, C4, and C5. As we can see, to go to C3, we can go from C1 and C2. So to complete C3, we need to complete both C1 and C2. That's why we have an edge both from C2 and C1 for C3. Then from C3, we can go for C4, or from C3, we can directly go to C5. And from C4, we have an edge from C4 to C5. This is how a DFS method can be used to solve the ordering of the nodes. As you can see how this problem is solved. So the first algorithm is simple application of DFS. So what we supposed to do, we have to perform a DFS traversal and note the order in which the vertices become dead ends. So as the dead end is reached, as the dead end has encountered, we have to pop out the node from the stack. So after popping out all the nodes from the stack, we have to reverse the order to yield a solution for the topological sorting. Of course, no back edges has been encountered during the traversal. If there is a back edge, then the digraph is not a directed acyclic graph, and hence topological sorting for this vertices is impossible. Now, I'll be giving you one problem for solving the solution. See, identify the order of completion of the nodes using topological sorting. So solve this problem by using topological sorting by using DFS traversal technique. So there is a stack implementation is required, and we have to go on depth first, traverse the nodes, and if it becomes the end point, then we have to traverse it. We have to pop the node and we have to again traverse the remaining vertices. This is what is going to happen in this traversal technique, and reversing the order of the popped items will give you the result for topological sorting. I hope you will all solve this problem and will get a solution. And I want to thank all of you for watching this video and all our team members for making this happen, that our subject has gone online. Thank you very much for watching the videos. Have a great day ahead.